Barito Cowkite.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday the 14th of January 2017. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
We've got too much to talk about, not enough time, and a whole system of things that barely work.
And Robert Kemp.
I count myself as one of those things that barely work.
How's that?
I don't know. I feel a bit of a mess today, having run in icy conditions this morning. And not being able to breathe for half of it.
How do you run in January? Surely I don't know. I guess it's not that cold compared to some countries, but still.
It's the actual temperature on your body isn't the bad thing. It's the cold air hitting your lungs, making them shrink.
Yeah, so you get really shallow breaths and stuff.
Yeah, just totally unable to catch my breath this morning. It was bad. It was real bad.
My brother says you do get used to that, but it's hard. Or used to it, or not that you get used to it, but that it gets so it's not as bad.
Do you just plunge pool yourself every day? Just run a cold bath, dip yourself in and go, and then you get somehow not do that after a while?
Maybe. I think just the running is fine.
All right.
But maybe that helps. Who knows?
That's less entertaining.
But that's going to make everything cold. And you're saying that's not the problem. It's just the lungs.
Yeah, it's just the lungs. But you want to encourage that effect, I suppose, so it doesn't happen?
Don't know.
Yeah.
But,
see, the thing with the problem is I wasn't too bad until I started the run. You see what I mean? So I was hanging about outside for a while, and it's like, this is fine. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Yeah. I've got my nice new jacket on, nice new running jacket. I'm all right. So this will be fine. And then the moment you start inhaling deeply, it's like, this is not all right.
This is not good.
Made it around halfway at my normal pace, but the second half I was just like, nope, got nothing. I'm dying a little bit. You remember that theory we had ages ago about everybody has a little bit of death?
Oh yeah,
we're reminded of that today. It was just because I was sort of on the ground at the end of the 5K this morning, and everyone's and Jay's around me, sort of going, "Oh, we broke him," and it's like, "You're dying," and it's like, no, I just sort of casually say, "Everyone's got a little bit of death."
That sounds so weird. Because our stupid idea was that there's only one cause of death, and it's called death, and it's like a disease that you catch. So no matter what happens to you that kills you, it wasn't that. It was that caused you to contract death and then die, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that so if you get just a little bit of how much death you've caught.
If you get shot, you catch death off that.
Catch a lot of death.
If you fall off a building, you as you hit the ground, you catch death.
Yeah, we've just all got a mild case of death. We're waiting for it to become malignant death. I don't know.
So morbid.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was dumb.
It's a good theory. I like it.
What's going on with you, Zeg? Other than internet troubles?
Yeah, mostly just that.
Is that happening all the time, every day?
Not every day, once in a while.
I suppose your router is technically in the same room as the kitchen, so we can call this kitchen net bitching.
Sure, if you want to add to that with standard kitchen bitching, I'm always up for that.
How's the kettle war?
Nothing's happening.
Oh no. Have you lost this war?
It's quiet. Too quiet.
Nobody wants to poke their head over the kettle trench.
Well,
past the iron gauze.
It's not going to get any better. It's just how long it takes to get worse.
It's like real war.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, I've been having alarm clock troubles.
What?
Stupid. I wanted to buy an alarm clock with a radio in it. Do you remember that? Clock radios, they were called. Yeah, they were all the rage in the 1970s.
They still exist.
Exactly. So, and I was like, well, I'm going to get a digital radio, obviously, in it, which makes it twice as expensive, but whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently. So I ordered one and I got a Sony model because I was like, well, Sony, they're good.
I like their sound.
Yeah, that'd be good. And the first one, so it arrived and the buttons were the control. The buttons were completely fucked. The control, you couldn't set the alarm as you tried to set it, it immediately accepted all the settings, and beeped, and there was no way to actually.
you got a random alarm.
Yeah, you had to hold different buttons at once, and then but it tuned into the radio, and the radio sounded really clear and good. But then the controls were so fucked that it would actually turn on at random.
Oh, wow.
Like it would just come on, like it was fucked. So I sent that back for a replacement because I ordered that off Amazon, but it was, fulfilled by some small electronic shop.
Right, okay.
You know how that is. So I sent it back, and then all the palaver of them sending a courier to come and collect it and replace it with another one. Then I got the other one, replacement, setting the alarm, totally fine. Couldn't tune the radio. Terrible signal in the same place. And I thought, oh God, well, I am in a basement. But then the last one was totally fine. And so I moved it around. I tried it in the kitchen. Nope. And I tried it next to my old digital radio that works fine. Nope. Fail. Total fail. So I was like, well, I want a working one. This one's
broken in a different way.
Yeah, this one's broken, but in a different way. So either replace it or refund. I don't know, your choice.
I think after two choices, I'd definitely go refund. Right?
Yeah,
both of these have been boned. This doesn't bode well.
Exactly. So I went for a refund. So I did that, and then I was like, well, this is annoying because I don't want to give up though. So I was thinking, well, who else can I order from? Like Sony seems like a good make, but where can I? And I was looking around, and I realized what isn't on Amazon that's good is John Lewis.
Oh yeah, because I was about to say Gnome really loves her. We've got a little Pure one, and just that up next to her bed. That works real great, and we got that from John Lewis.
Right, so I ordered it off a John Lewis brand one off the John Lewis website.
Yeah, they look alright.
And they do a click and collect from Waitrose, so I didn't even have to do all the palaver. I was going shopping to Waitrose today anyway, so I was like, so I picked it up. So I picked it up just as I got back to do this podcast, plugged it in, and it tunes great, but there's just a constant loud buzzing over all radio.
Oh God, really?
Really loud, yeah. And you can tell underneath that the signal is perfect, for the channel. But and I tried switching it to FM mode or whatever, still just the same incredibly loud buzzing over everything. I tried it in the kitchen, same loud buzzing. So that one's clearly faulty. Wow. So I'm gonna have to take this back to Waitrose. So it's like the saga of can I get a single working fucking clock radio into 2017? I don't know.
Are you better off just getting some sort of Bluetooth speaker and setting a radio alarm on your phone or something? And at this point. Because that stuff must exist on phones, right? Like radio alarms, maybe?
But then I'd have to have Bluetooth on the phone and have the speaker on all the time?
I guess.
No. I'm going to get one that works. I mean, my main thing, one of the main reasons I'm getting a clock radio to put next to my bed is I've decided to keep my phone away from my bed at night so I don't look at it.
Okay, that's quite a good idea.
And actually go to sleep. Yeah. So I don't have my phone there. So that's on purpose.
It's also quite good if you're that's also quite good if you're using your phone as your alarm though, because it forces you to get up to turn the bloody thing off.
I've got that too. So that's the secondary alarm. I can't wake up and immediately get up because I just will be too pissed off. So I need to have a. So my plan is
I can't use the snooze button. Like the snooze button is dangerous.
Totally.
An hour will pass before you stop pressing that button.
Exactly. So my plan is a dual plan where I have the alarm on the phone that's way away from my bed, so I have to get up. But I have a earlier alarm, half an hour earlier, that hopefully will turn on the radio, so I can listen to the radio while I'm waking up for half an hour. That is the plan. And I think that would be ideal, but eventually I will get there. God damn it! Because previously I used the sleep alarm thing, sleep cycle thing on my phone or whatever, and that was cool for years, and it would actually sort of wake you up at the right time and stuff. But I can't really, according to your sleep cycle, or whatever. But I would just look at my phone at night, when I have it there. So I'm ditching that, and it would stop me from reading. That's the thing. I've got a Kindle to read, but instead I would just go on the internet, which is what I've been doing all day. So I'm trying to replace that.
Do Bose still do those little things? Because they used to have a fairly famous one, didn't they? The sort of like little sound bar looking thing that was.
Do they do a clock radio? Oh, maybe I'll look at for bows.
Because we always used to have a big clock on the front, and it was like a little stand-up thing that you put in a bookcase or something, and so I assumed it would have clock radio on it. I don't know, maybe not.
Probably. I mean, I'm really happy with my Bose headphones, so I would pay the extra for a Bose, speaker thing. But I mean, this John Lewis one would be fine if it freaking worked. So anyway, never mind.
Yeah, as I say, we've had good luck with Pure, and I got my dad a Blaupunkt a few years back because he wanted a new one as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I haven't had any feedback from that because I never get feedback from gifts. So it's because it's always a risky venture. You don't want to ask, really, do you? It's like, how was that thing? It's real nice.
Yeah,
cheers.
Exactly. Anyway, that's my bitching for the week. And
I've had a similar story with my glasses.
Oh yeah.
In fairness, I talked about chromostereopsis and all that nonsense that they've been trying to sort out, and how it was. Something to do with the thinner lens material causing a greater prismatic effect. So they decided, all right, let's not use the thinning material. Come back in a week and we'll have some new glasses for you, and we'll fix the damage to that other frame that was there as well. I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. So I went back in, and they'd thinned the lenses, and yes, the stereopsis effect, the chromostereopsis, was reduced to be the same as what I have in my current glasses.
Cool.
But they forgot to put the anti-glare on it, and it's like, so I looked at a light source, and it was just like, there's like 5 of these.
No, that's
it's like, oh come on.
Lame.
Yeah.
You're gonna get them to replace it then? Yeah,
they're already building another set, and it's like I dread to think because I guess with lenses they don't really keep them, or at least they don't keep my ones as the problem. Like normal people's eyes or non-prism lenses, I suppose, they just have stashes in stock, and then they cut them to the size of the frame, or they might already have some pre-cut for certain frames and things like that. But with my prism lenses, because they're rare enough, they have to make them to order every time. So I don't know what they're going to do with these like multiple sets of lenses I'm just leaving about the place. Man, I'm not very eco-friendly with my eyeglasses, my eye paints.
Well, they should get it right then if they want to save the planet.
Yeah, they should. Yeah. I'm getting my money's worth this time, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have had 3 pairs of glasses by now. Of which 6 pairs, of which 4 of them could probably have been worn.
Well, by the way, did I tell you about the present I was getting from my mum, a Bluetooth speaker for Christmas? Did I tell you about it? Anyway, I ordered one. I ordered one direct from Logitech, I think, and it was being delivered by UPS, and so I could track it all the way. And I was like,
the brown van.
Yeah, the brown van. I was like, it's out for delivery today. Awesome. And I'm at home. This is going to be good. And then I can go back to Suffolk for Christmas and have it. And of course, problem, can't be bothered to deliver it or whatever. I was like, okay, well, I've still got tomorrow. No, they didn't deliver it. And then I just kept occasionally looking at the tracking information. It was like warehouse scan. The address is wrong or something. And then we're like, the address is definitely not wrong. I mean, I've looked at the order and it has my address and the postcode. So I don't see how you could get that wrong. But it's like wrong. And eventually, like, I forgot about it. And then like last week, I just got an email saying, yeah, you've been refunded. I was like,
oh wow. So
okay.
They treated it as lost in the mail.
Apparently, well, I don't know. I don't know if UPS actually returned to sender eventually or something. But either way, it never got here.
Weird.
So that was weird. But that was actually ideal because I never had to complain or say anything to them about like, oh, now I have to post this back or whatever, because it got posted back automatically because they lost it or whatever. So I didn't have to lift a finger to get that sorted out.
Well, that's nice, at least on that level. But
on that level, it was nice, but really annoying.
Yeah,
anyway.
I had Royal Mail hold on to an item for probably the best part of a week before they decided to tell me it's being held for customs.
Oh yeah, that's always annoying.
But you've had this for days, and like it says the delivery tracking says it's been delivered, and it's like no, it hasn't been delivered. It's hanging about in customs. And it's like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
silly peoples.
Right, should we get on with video games?
Oh, I guess we could. We've got a lot of games to cover.
I guess this is a podcast about them. That's the idea. So we should probably talk about them. News! Top story this week. Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, big event finally happened.
The event happened, so we know stuff. What do we know?
It was bonkers, I know that. I watched it
I
twice.
don't think it was that crazy.
Did
It wasn't like Square Enix press conference or anything.
I haven't seen it, so you guys relay the craziness.
Well, it was a bit of a weird one, just and some of that it was hard to. It wasn't as slick as you'd expect from like a Microsoft or Sony deal, but that in part might have just been a feeling because it was Japanese for starters, so you have the awkwardness of a bit of translation going on, and some translation parts obviously being quite difficult for the interpreters to do live. So there's some pauses and some stuff like that, and one of the interpreters definitely wasn't very enthusiastic sounding, sort of just while you've got Suda on stage at one point just going, "Wah! Women
I don't know if that was the translator being unenthusiastic or the translator not understanding what the fuck he was saying because it was Suda.
Yeah, that's probably true. That is probably accurate too. But we got pretty much every detail we need out about this thing.
Cool.
Really?
Tell me.
So let's break it down.
Break it down.
Release date, March 3rd, global.
Sweet.
Coming out everywhere then. UK price will be $280. So it's pretty much the ballpark we were talking about, right?
On the high side, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we thought it was going to be around 300, didn't we? But that's the system on its own with Joy-Cons and the grip, no Pro Controller or anything like that, and no games. So
right.
there's no pack-in this time, so that it's just the box on its own, and that's all there.
Shit, with like 50 quid's worth of Zelda on top.
Yeah. Well, and you say 50, the rumours are that because they're cartridge-based, the Switch games are going to be £60.
Holy
pounds,
shit.
Which is a little nuts. But that's a big rumour. They haven't technically announced pricing for the games.
Okay. So we're talking £340 to minimum.
Probably to get started. And that's if you want to play with the Joy-Cons and like the Pro Controller is.
How much is a PS4 and a game?
I actually don't know.
Let me just Google that while you wait.
Yeah.
Well, go on Amazon.
So on top of that, if we're talking money, they also implied that there is some sort of paid-for online service coming, but they didn't describe what that was. So Nintendo Box Live?
They said that basically they're not... It seems like what they're doing is not putting any of the actual like friends lists and stuff in the actual system. It's going to be a phone app.
Yeah, they said. Yeah, they did imply that as well, or that there was some sort of smart app, I think they called it, to do some sort of interfacing with it. Yeah, so, which is also a little odd.
Here we go. PS4 standard slim with Uncharted 4, 240 quid.
It's a good deal, isn't it? Compared, but then these consoles have been out like 3 years.
True.
And that's like the old version of the PS4 at this point, really.
It's not the Pro, but it is the new.
Slim.
It is the Slim, so it is like a new SKU or whatever.
Anyway. I think the Xbox pricing is incredibly similar, so it's yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Still, so it is a more expensive unit, but you're getting the modes of play.
Sure.
You're getting TV mode and handheld mode and tabletop mode, as they went to great lengths to explain. It was quite nice in a way. It's like you don't normally have a conference or a presentation that breaks things down in the amount of detail that they went into about how this thing actually functions. Although they didn't talk about its storage capacity, and they didn't talk about the game cartridges, presumably because they're going to have some sort of digital option as well as cartridges. So none of that was really told. But they did say the battery life will vary from 2.5 hours to 6.5 hours, depending on what the game is that's running on it, and that's quite a range.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're talking like 3 hours for Zelda, aren't they?
Probably, yeah. Again, not outside the realms of what we were predicting for that thing.
No. What the rumors already said.
Yeah.
Oh,
a lot of this show leaked on 4chan. So beforehand, so there weren't too many surprises left, and also that thing has proper USB-C compliant charging.
Oh,
so,
that's cool.
So they've gone that road. So that's neat. There's no.
That's good. Yeah.
So in theory, you don't have to buy a Nintendo charger if you're on the road.
You could charge it off your new MacBook Pro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could.
Which is ironic because you can't charge an iPhone off it, but you could charge a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, Nintendo have beaten Apple. There you go. That's cool. There's some good stuff there. They confirmed that the screen is touch and is capacitive.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
But they haven't shown any use of that.
No, that's a little odd, but fine.
It would make sense. It exists.
I mean, when I first thought about it, it would make sense. If you're playing Zelda handheld, to be able to do touch through the menus. I don't know but you need to be able to have a normal interface anyway. But might as well. I guess it's like Windows or whatever. It's like you can
do this thing, touch, and well, there's no. As far as the sort of word goes, it's like there's no requirement of developers to do things in any specific way. They can make games that are designed for handheld mode.
Right.
But you might provide an alternative control scheme, for instance, to do it, like the Joy-Con pointer or something. But then, there's more to that as well. We'll come back to the Joy-Cons. And they made a very, very special mention. Like, this is normally the sort of detail that would probably come out after the event, but they straight up on stage just said that we didn't like the region locking approach anymore. So the console is totally un-region locked.
Cool.
Imports a go-go.
Hooray for Australia.
Yeah. But it's also nice because there are a lot of Japanese titles that never make it over here and never have made it over here. So there's
a good point.
And a lot of those are either Sony or Nintendo console released. So there is a window now. So that's real cool. Not that some of I don't think DS was ever region locked, for instance. It's only ever been their sort of main consoles that have had this kind of locking on. But yeah, that's nice. Like that. So let's talk Joy-Cons. This is the key thing, I guess. And again, they went to great lengths to say, hey, we've combined every bit of innovation from all of Nintendo's past into these things. They are what everyone thought they were. They detach. They are effectively Wiimote capable in terms of their motion sensing.
Except not exactly, because they don't have an IR detector exactly. They just sense it by position, I guess.
Yeah, so as we alluded to earlier, if they wanted to do Wii pointer style stuff, the rumor about the top of the Switch perhaps being an IR thing or sensor of some kind, or there's two little pulsing lights that they used to have, probably not true.
Or they just mysteriously didn't confirm it for some reason.
Yeah. In its place, there is a camera. There is still a camera there, but they seem to imply that it's good for close range gesture recognition. So you can throw rock paper. He specifically said it can tell the difference between you throwing rock, paper, or scissors in front of it.
Okay, almost not a depth camera, or like a miniaturized kind of Kinect part.
Kinda, yeah, because it can tell distance to some degree, but it seemed like we're only within a few feet.
Yeah,
well, maybe they weren't very specific on that either.
No,
I mean, it's not like a leap motion type. Have you seen that thing?
Yeah, I doubt it has that fidelity, but
no.
But it's interesting that it's there. We didn't really see an example of how that's useful. They didn't seem to have made a game, or at least it wasn't apparent in any of the presentation that's being used yet.
And it's another weird thing where that camera is in the bottom of that Joy-Con. So when it's attached to the system, you can't use it because it's pointing at your crotch.
Yeah.
All you can see is crotch.
It's a good thing it's an IR camera, right? Unless you want a 3D depth map of your balls.
Crotch depth sensor. Okay.
Yeah. How far away from the
I guess maybe they could use that for some kind of game in handheld mode. Where hold it in this specific way so we can see your crotch.
They can tell the effectiveness of certain porn by what happens. The depth of something. Anyway, yeah. What else we got? The right hand one has an Amiibo NFC reader in it, so Amiibos will stick around.
Yep, makes sense. Money. Because money.
Yeah. They're literally called Joy-Con R and Joy-Con L as well.
Yeah.
And Joy-Con L has a capture button, so they're going down the Sony share route, which at first they claim will just do screen grabs, but will have a video implementation in the future. So whatever that is.
Yeah, because we need freaking what's his name, Luigi.
Oh, you need Luigi Death Star. Yeah, Death Star.
Luigi Death Star, exactly.
Which is the best thing. It's a good question as to whether or not that will actually be particularly great, because Nintendo are known to be super harsh on like sharing things. Like, you can't put a video on YouTube without them trying to monetize it as Nintendo.
Well, they can easily monetize these.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, the question is, like, where does it go? Because if the online service thing is an app and it's not really on the system, how does it get it out?
Well, yeah, because
or does it just store it on the memory and then you have to export it at some point?
Yeah, I don't know, because the other implication is that Miiverse is dying. Like, just this is going on the side, that they're not carrying on with Miiverse. So that their own social media platform is kind of, as much as you want to call it social media, their own image Reddit is sort of disappearing.
Right.
So they won't have their own platform. It will have to be like Twitter or Facebook or something like that, or Weibo. Amiibo's on Weibo. There you go. So that thing exists. And the controllers, like when you turn them on their sides, there's these tiny little L and R buttons. These diddy little L's and R things.
Oh, yeah.
But if they're a little too uncomfortable there, you can get these strap things, because of course wrist straps, that make those buttons bigger.
Oh, that combines with a wrist strap. Okay, that makes sense.
It's quite a neat idea. That
cool.
It uses the rail to slide the strap on.
And they don't come in the box, even though that's just two pieces of plastic.
Yeah, no, I think
they do come in the box.
I think you get two of the black ones, and they said
cool. Because everyone will have them.
Yeah,
and I'm not entirely sure they are entirely just pieces of plastic, because according to some people, the games can detect whether the strap is attached to the Joy-Con.
Oh,
some games won't let you do it unless you have it attached.
That's interesting.
I think that seems sensible, having that little strip to make it more comfortable.
Yeah, but the nanny state sensor? Oh, that's a bit weird. I guess Nintendo are just trying to reduce lawsuits again.
Well, it's more like they just want you to have the bigger buttons, I guess.
It seems like the main problem with using them individually for a normal game is that the L one has the analog stick in the middle.
Yeah, I can imagine each of them feel weirdly.
So one is clearly better
different
than the other.
Yeah, well, they'll be different for certain people. Some people might prefer the weird positioning if they've got massive hands, I guess. But
yeah, maybe.
I mean, the whole Joy-Cons and the grip do look quite diddy. Like even in the hands of the Japanese presenter, it looked quite small in his hands, even in the grip. So it's there probably are some comfort worries for American audiences there. Not so much for me, because I have tiny hands, so it's fine. Average hands. I'm not Donald Trump. What else we got? HD Rumble. That was a fairly ridiculous, sort of theoretical demonstration that he showed. You can tell how many ice cubes are in this glass.
Something that we just don't know until we try it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it doesn't as what they say HD Rumble, and you're like, how does that work? But even just thinking about it in a physical aspect, it's like the motors for it must be really tiny to fit in that tiny thing.
Well, it depends how they work. Maybe it doesn't use a motor. Maybe it uses some other kind of something that oscillates back and forth or something. They said it was some kind of haptic. How does the Apple one work?
Yeah, how does taptic
I don't think it's not a motor with a weight on. Like the traditional Rumble, that's not how they work. So
it's got to hit something, hasn't it, to make that effect, or to make it feel like a knock.
Yeah. I don't know how they work.
No, still that in a weird way has actually got me kind of excited. That'd be really interesting.
I think that's
thing.
Cool.
Because it's just like, oh, okay, I actually kind of want to feel what you've done here. If it's as good as you say it is, and I can feel multiple bits of ice in a glass rattling around.
It won't be that good, but it will be better than Rumble. So.
Yeah, that's quite cool. I like that. What have I missed, Zach? Is that pretty much the Joy? Oh, you can get the Joy-Cons in bright red and blue if you don't like one of each.
Yeah.
If you
you
don't
don't
like
even
the
get
grey.
a matching pair. You just get
You get one of each. Yeah.
Although it seems like you can buy the Joy-Cons individually, but I'm not sure you can buy the coloured ones individually. You can buy the black ones individually.
It was funny because I was listening to the Easy Allies reactions version of it, and they were like, "Oh, I'm totally dual coloring my Switch," and then the next thing they said was, "And it comes with one of each," and it's like, "Wait, what?" I don't think anyone was expecting the weird combo pack.
I guess they just wanted to make like the one and two player difference slightly more pronounced between the stick being in a completely different place.
It also makes a bit of sense given the branding of 1-2 Switch as well, which is their Wii Sports.
Only if you have those ones, though.
Yeah.
If you have the boring grey one, then it doesn't work.
Yeah. I think that's all about the Joy-Cons, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
They didn't talk about how they're powered or what their battery life is like. Or
No, they did say that like the grip thing that you mount it in, mount the Joy-Cons in, charges them somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it had little green lights on the grip, doesn't it?
So what doesn't seem to be clear, it has the lights to tell the power of each Joy-Con in the grip, but what doesn't seem to be clear is whether the grip itself has like its own battery which can then charge the others, or the grip needs to be plugged in order for the Joy-Cons to charge.
Well, then do you have to charge your grip every now and then, as well as there's a lot of things potentially to charge here.
Yeah, but the grip has a USB-C probably,
probably.
port, which the Joy-Cons don't, right? So you have to either connect the Joy-Cons to the tablet or to the grip in order to charge them.
So if you were going on like an airplane or whatever and you wanted to use it in stupid tabletop kickstand mode, would you actually be better off plugging the Joy-Cons into the grip at that point in order to conserve charge on the main thing?
Oh, interesting. What you mean, if the grip powers the controllers, are you saving battery power on your Switch itself?
But then it needs to use the radio, which it wouldn't need to if you had them.
I don't know though, because people have suggested that even when they're attached, they're still wireless. It doesn't actually create a physical connection.
That would be dumb.
There doesn't look like there's a great deal of ports on that thing. Like there doesn't know where are the pins to do that. Would be the argument for it being totally radio.
Because you wouldn't want pins along that edge if it's also like the place where the other L and R buttons are when you're going to touch them all the time. You wouldn't want any metal bits that you could potentially erode with your fingers sticking out up there.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably true. It probably just does keep them wireless at all times.
But I sort of agree with Dan. It's kind of dumb. Like, you'd want it to just sort of... Or maybe there's a flap that opens when it slides into the rail or something like that. But then maybe that flap can break. Who knows? I don't know. I think they're definitely going all out with their potential control methods here. And there's a little stink, especially when you put this with 1-2 Switch, of we want to recapture some of that Wii Sports flash in the pan again. Which I'm not sure they will.
No.
But
not with this game, anyway.
No. Well, yeah, 1-2 Switch is an odd one, because they're attempting to create a suite of games.
They're basically attempting to make a video game without any video. Yeah,
like just one-on-one, like stare your opponent down games was how they were described. With the tablet basic
game.
Yeah, with the tablet basing acting as audio cues effectively.
And no casual people are going to play that. It makes even less sense to them than an actual game where you can see things that help you.
The example of it, I don't know, the quick draw run. I get why they went with that, because everyone can understand that. But that would be fun for 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And you wouldn't play it on the dance floor like their picture suggested.
Well, you wouldn't play it anywhere where there's any noise, because then you wouldn't be able to hear all these audio cues that you're meant to be listening to.
Yeah, it's true.
Probably won't even be able to play it outside because of that. I don't know how good the speakers are on the screen, but probably not great.
Apparently there's something about milking a cow in that game as well.
Yep, that's what Giant Bomb seem to be focusing on.
Okay.
It's Dan Reichert milking a cow expertly.
Well, he's mechanic.
It's all that Stardew Valley experience.
Basically. It's really weird because there's Jeff posted a video of him doing it, and the instructions seem to be in all those games, or that the people there tell you is like, don't look at the screen, concentrate on what you're doing with your hand.
Nothing to look at on the
screen.
Which is
so he's just like looking at his hand as it's going up and down really creepily. Like, it's so weird.
How do you competitively milk? I suppose that must be a thing.
It's how much can you get out of the cow, I guess.
And how fast you can get it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's a timing thing in that game, isn't it? Apparently, it's like you have to push the top back button on the top, and then switch to the bottom button on your way down. So it's like you're moving your hand and also switching between the two buttons in time or whatever.
Oh, interesting. So it's definitely more complicated than the Mario Party can shake then.
Well, yeah, I guess. And I did see on the
that was my worry with all this stuff. That it was
I
just
did see on the Treehouse screen that there's another, like, that game is the first use of the IR camera, apparently, where they point, you hold up the Joy-Con with the camera pointing at your mouth and pretend to eat a sandwich really fast, and then it rates on how many sandwiches you ate in a certain period of time by detecting when your mouth is opening and closing.
Okay. That's going to look real bad.
Yep.
Oh, Japan. And your suggestive themes. There'll be a banana mode in it, I'm sure.
Probably.
Okay. Well, at least they're doing something with that camera. I didn't realise that was something you could do.
Although that one did seem like a one-player thing, or maybe you just take it in turns. I don't know, because I guess only one of the Joy-Cons has that camera.
Oh, is that a thing? Do not both of them have it?
Yeah, I think only the right-hand one has it.
Huh. It takes a lot of processing power to put that share button in the other one. It seems.
Yeah, which is weird because the right one always is the one that also has the NFC.
Yeah.
Just cram everything in that side.
All right. Well, so any more hardware-y or servicey notes that they brought up that I've missed there?
No, I think that covers it. Now it's just games.
Yeah.
And 1-2-Switch was the only one that had any more information about the hardware stuff, I guess, due to that, the way it works.
I'm just looking at the back of the dock because I'm curious about how I can plug it into my kind of TV-less setup at my desk.
It's probably just a single HDMI cable, I reckon.
It is.
If it's anything like the previous HDMI stuff.
There's a single USB port, like normal big USB port. I don't know what that's for. And then the AC. But it's quite nice because it kind of, those sockets are actually inside the back of the dock. So you flip down the back of the dock to reveal those ports. So you can make it like super neat so that only the cables come out of the side of it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
That's kind of cool. The dock does nothing, basically. But that's quite nice. It looks quite neat. Anyway,
there's no actual powerhouse in the dock after all. You know, it's not like
there's nothing in there. Yeah. So consequently, I am currently Googling like HDMI audio splitter boxes, but it looks like I can get one that will split out optical, and I can put that into my coax, and I put that into my thingy. So
yeah, not a problem for my rig, but yeah, that's
not for you.
In your scenario, yeah, I can see that completely.
I'll just use my monster speakers if it comes to it. Because those will probably still be better than the ones on the Switch. Oh.
Well, you might be able to still. Well, it depends. If you plug it, if you put it in the dock, I wonder if you can use the headphone jack on if it's in the right place still to just sort of feed some speakers.
I don't think there is. I guess.
Jack, is there? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I saw it, but I'd be surprised if there wasn't.
Wait, he wears headphones in the plane thing in the trailer, right? They come out the top though, don't they? So yeah, I guess it could be up there.
I
wonder if I hope that the sound will still keep coming out of that. I bet it will just cut out. I wouldn't be surprised.
I bet it would. I bet it would stop.
Anyway, never mind. That makes it less fun to just slot it into the slot though, because then you have to then connect a cable. But still, at least it will work. If it works, which it won't. Anyway, cool. Games.
Games. How about some Wii Sports boxing?
Sure.
Apparently with depth challenge and replayability, as they kept saying repeatedly.
Well, they've tried to make a proper fighter, sort of, or punch out, like a competitive punch out. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing here is like replayability. It's like, Right. I'm sure.
Okay, so ARMS, as it's called, which I actually think is a pretty great name. It's
apart from it's in capitals, which means it's probably a shitty acronym for something.
I don't know. There was no dots. But I don't know. It's when they start talking about the replayability of Wii Sports Boxing, as in that depends so much on the fidelity of these controllers.
Well, and the content of the game.
Yeah.
If it's not just a mini game.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're releasing it as a full game, it must have some amount of content. But...
Yeah, what it is, if it's just that one-on-one fighting, it would be a bit rubbish as a full game, unless it is like a budget title for download or something.
Yeah, I mean, if they did it like a proof of concept thing, like for the system, to show off the fanciness of their motion controls, where it can detect all your twisty arm motions.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it looked all right, but like it's just one of those games where it's like, you know what, this doesn't have to be a motion game.
Apparently, you can play it with the Pro Controller, so it doesn't have to be a motion game.
Great, then that's probably all right then. Yeah, I want that. That game looks all right. It's looked like it could be good fun in a sort of like virtual on sort of way. But as a full price title, the content worry is there, and I also just worry about the fidelity of the motion controls. Because who wouldn't, to be honest? But way more interesting and up my street is Splatoon 2. Not just a port; it's a whole new game.
Is this a full new game? So is that borne out by what you've seen of it, that it's a whole new thing?
So yes and no. Like none of the maps they showed in their trailer are from the old game. So it looks like all of the maps have been replaced. The hub world has been replaced.
Cool.
Some of the character designs have had a bit of an overhaul. Like there's more hairstyles. There you go. But in terms of like the tech and the look of the game, it's a lot of the weaponry, it's identical. Like absolutely identical. So it is like it doesn't feel so much like a true sequel in that sense. It just feels a bit more like more Splatoon. But
like Titanfall 2. New maps, new guns.
I guess Titanfall 2 is different enough in feel from the first. But they've kept gyro controls, which is quite nice because I quite liked playing it like that. And if you're playing with the grip or the Pro controller, they have gyro in them, so you can still do that sort of like jiggly aiming if you like. That's probably not such a great tactic if you're using the handheld mode of the Switch.
It might be pretty weird with the Pro controller as well, to be gyroing the thing to like aim your view, but you're not looking at the thing.
That's no different from using the Wii U version, because you're not looking at the screen on the Wii U when you play that.
Well, it depends.
Because the screen on the Wii U is the map.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't seem necessary, because it's not, I guess.
No, it is. It totally isn't necessary. I just think it's a pretty cool way to play that game. It was its thing, apart from its fairly decent mechanics. I'm not complaining at all. Like Splatoon is a hell of a game, and if it's just all like just let's do this again, but we've just got every map is new, then that's kind of okay.
It would be nice if they just reuse the old maps, because that'd just be more content.
Well, maybe they will.
I get the feeling that will be their DLC plan.
You can't DLC the old maps. I mean, come on.
They'll be like, we've brought them back. Yeah.
Maybe they'll remix them.
There's a good chance they might be in there. We just haven't seen them. Because they want to show the new stuff. They showed all the special weapons they showed were new as well. At least 4 of those then, and some new secondaries that we hadn't seen before. That's fine. It's not a port. It's a new game with new live events and stuff like that. Apparently, they're going to carry on some sort of replacement to Splatfest. Unless it's just Splatfest 2, I don't know. But
probably.
There will be live stuff in that game as well. So, yeah, good on them. And it also had one of those slightly more bizarre presentations with the Squid Research Lab man.
Yeah.
Didn't quite translate that well, I don't think.
Doing dramatic poses.
Yeah, Splatoon 2. Yeah. and then the stuff we talked about the map being like, I take back my concerns about that. That was a cool thing of the Wii U game, being able to just look down and see the state of play at any time. And their replacement for that is to just, you press a button and the map takes over the screen, which does leave you with a little bit of vulnerability if you want to have a look at it. But the way that you super jump to your teammates is now just a button press.
Even though they have a little touchscreen. I mean, maybe it still uses the touchscreen if you're playing in the mode where you can push the touchscreen.
Yeah, maybe you can if you've got the handheld on. Or tabletop even. You could just mash it right in front of you. But,
don't know about tabletop. You probably just knock it over.
Yeah, probably. But no, they seem sensible enough that they don't look like they'll destroy the game. I want to hear stuff about new modes, maybe, or but they only really talked about Turf War being its thing.
Because just like Titanfall, that's like the one mode that is what the game is, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is that game, but it would be nice to have a little more variety, and not many of the other modes were that great. Like half of them were good. But they were all limited to ranked play. You couldn't play any of the other modes in unranked mode. Unranked was just Turf War only, which I thought was a slightly weird decision. But so I meant that. Yay. And that was the other thing. You can if you have 8 of these things in a room, you can set up full local wireless games, was what they said as well.
Which is pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
Just imagine how much Wi-Fi there is. It's going between 8 systems and theoretically 2 Joy-Cons per system.
Yeah.
Just Wi-Fi signals for all of that.
Well, I'm sure most ad hoc networks are, one of them has to act as a host, right? So one of them is doing all the legwork.
Well, that's almost more crazy.
So that's the only way. So there's that. It's cool. Out summer, so not a launch game, but will be out in theory within the first 6 months of launch.
They did say ARMS was out in spring, which is weird because the system comes out in March, and that's basically the end of spring, essentially.
It's the start of spring in terms of quarterly windows. Yeah, so ARMS won't be a launch game either. Oh boy, here comes the weird one.
Not weird.
I can't quite decide if it's good or not. Is my feeling on it. Let's go. Super Mario Odyssey.
Right, so they took Station Square from Sonic Adventure and then they put a banging donk on it.
A literal new donk.
Donk, donk, donk.
There's new donk.
Donk, 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 donk. Okay.
It looks both awesome.
I didn't realise.
I think it looks great. I think it looks great.
I didn't realise for ages that that's actually a reference to Donkey Kong. I was like,
it is.
Donk.
Yeah, it is. No, I mean, there's other references to Donkey Kong in the signs and stuff of the city.
Yeah, there's like a Dizzy Cafe or something, and it's one of the was it one of the billboards seemed to reference something as well, and it's definitely
that. I can't tell if that is a hub world or it's just one of the levels.
I think it's one of the levels. I think
it's just one of the levels. So I think this is a kind of a feint where that is one of many. Maybe they just went for it because it's like...
I don't think there's a hub this time. I think you travel to each zone as you want on that weird thing. Yeah, the flying house boat
thing. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Because there's a shot where he's jumping off a building and you can pretty much see the extent of the level, and it's like Mario 64 sized level.
Yeah, well, bigger than that. It looked pretty big.
Pretty big, but not.
Probably Sunshine style levels.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Sunshine,
bigger than Sunshine. Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean as an evolution, the size you would expect of a.
It's not a full open world game. Although they described it as a sandbox, it's like it's more like the Sunshine style of.
It's like Sunshine or Mario 64 even.
I bet they won't limit it.
How easily you could see the end of the level in that view as well. Whereas it's meant to be in the city, and then it's just like, oh, there's the edge.
Well, it's an island, right? It would have been one of the New York Islands, maybe.
I don't know. It seemed like it had a weird skybox thing going on.
Yeah, it did.
Like out the edge.
The gameplay that hat jumping on your hat looked awesome. There's just one mechanic.
Yeah, my one concern with that is you wouldn't be able to do that at that camera angle.
Well,
Maybe.
no,
Like,
I
no,
don't think any of the camera angles they showed were the actual camera angles.
Yeah, let's hope not. Yeah.
I mean, one thing that stood out to me is like, oh, that's bad graphics or whatever, was when the shadow went across a building, and then I remembered that the shadow being directly beneath you is a core part of the Mario gameplay because it's the only way you can tell.
Yeah, there's very, very good reason for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they could do something about it when the shadow gets infinitely long, when it's on the edge of a building. But even so, I was like, oh, that doesn't look right. And then I was like, oh yeah, you need that. Anyway, I think it looks like a Mario game, so I'm pretty happy about that.
It's kind of there's some interesting routes they could go, because like the thing about 64 and Sunshine were the somewhat scripted paths you could take in the levels as defined by the star you choose, and whether or not they're going to keep that idea or if it's just going to be no, they're all available at all times in a sort of Banjo-Kazooie sort of way.
Yeah, I think that would be cooler. Because how did it work? Because in Mario 64, you had to choose the star you were going for.
Yeah, right? and in Sunshine too, you had to pick the shine that you were going for, and that would just change parts of the level. And it was possible to get the stars or shines out of sequence in some cases. Like you could stumble upon one of the other routes and get that one, whatever star you'd chosen. But there were some that, for instance, like you needed to pick this one to trigger the boss fight on this level, or was it in Galaxy as well? And technically they're all in the same area, weren't they? But you had to pick the thing and it'd pick the right star to go for, and it would change the route by which you could get to it and things. So there's a big question as to whether they do some of that stuff. I bet they don't. It doesn't seem to fit with what they're going for here.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that it appears that like in every level there's a cap shop, I bet you're like changing cap skills to like access different areas. Probably.
Cool. Maybe. I don't know. Like the switching of abilities is often not a great thing.
But then why would there be a hat shop? It's got to be there for a reason.
It's got to do something.
And it exists in all the levels, as you can see it in several of the views that they show.
And in fairness, that was the weirdest thing. I think that actually my bad graphics thing was when he walked into that shop in the like Mexico-looking area or the desert area, wherever it was, and it was just like a flat, bright orange wall that he passes through.
He clipped through.
Yeah, it was just like, why did you show that?
To see that so much.
Yeah.
Maybe there's meant to be a fade happening at that point, at that same time.
Yeah, maybe. But it's got that. They're definitely doubling down on this. There's a style of rendering, aren't they, that they're doubling down on Nintendo. Like it's the Mario Kart 8 look, it's the Mario Galaxy look, it's to a lesser extent the Splatoon look. There's a certain render technique that all Nintendo games are using now, and it's a good look, but it's in all of their games apart from Zelda.
Yeah, fair.
Also, Dapper Bowser.
Pimp Bowser?
Pimp Bowser, yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, dear.
He has a sweet hat.
Yep.
Apparently it's all about hats now, so...
Yeah.
Hat fight.
It's Team Fortress.
Yeah, basically.
Super Mario Fortress.
If you could buy hats to stack on top of your other hat. You've got to have a tower of hats.
A modest pile of hats. Yeah, I'm sure it will be amazing. I have style problems with New Donk, but like I don't like the fact they've station squared it because I never liked that in Sonic. Like, why did they go to Human World? That's not cool.
Yeah,
but the trouble is, like, are they going to specifically be like, yeah, this is the real world, or is it going to be like this just happens to be quite human looking, but it's fucking New Donk City? It's like that doesn't exist in the real world. Has Bowser taken over the real world and fucked up New York, or is this just some weird like alternate universe real world?
Wouldn't it be amazing if it was actually
shut up.
Brooklyn or whatever, where Mario's supposed to come from, and he goes back, and everyone looks at him in his new form and are just like, "What happened to you?"
That is the weird canonical thing about this, right? It's just like he's going back to New York, where he supposedly came from, except he didn't.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Because canonically,
that's not in canon, is it?
Well, Super Mario World 2 is the canonical, is the actual canon. It's like they were babies in the Mushroom Kingdom, and they were parents in the Mushroom Kingdom. It's like that. I think theoretically, like after they become like teenagers or whatever, that's when they end up in the real world at some point. I don't know.
Right, I've just got to go and turn off my heating. So
okay, yeah, all that stuff was invented for the TV show anyway, wasn't it?
And the film.
Yeah. TV show came first, and then they just rolled with it. From Brooklyn. Yeah, so I'm sure it'll be amazing. I just don't like that aspect. I don't like everyone was quick to point out, why is everyone dressed like a 1950s businessman?
Well, that's because it's probably not the real world.
Yeah. Oh, well, clearly upside down like pyramids and like robot jungle parties. Not the jungle I'd like to see, or hear. But robot jungle parties, yeah, it's clearly not the real.
Well, those ones are though, because there's like Foodland as well. That's clearly like it's another world. So maybe it's like you travel between worlds in your mysterious flying boat house spaceship, whatever.
Gotta be Mario overcooked. Come on.
No, it's not going to be.
Deliver that onion to the toad over there.
Well, I guess you will be probably delivering food to locations. that is probably going to happen in Foodland. You're probably going to have to pick up a block equivalent and put it down in order to jump on it.
Did we see a single toad?
I don't know.
I don't remember seeing a single toad.
No, not specifically.
We're finally toad free.
I doubt it.
I bet there's some.
It'll probably be Captain fucking Toad again in his spaceship.
Yeah,
that'll be flying around.
I bet we'll see some of the Delfinos or whatever as well, and there'll probably be some Yoshi, right?
Oh, I hope there's Yoshi.
And they've got the mysterious Mexican land. And the Delfinos appeared in the original trailer, didn't they?
They're in the Mexican.
In the Mexico land.
Oh, okay.
Day of the Dead land.
Yeah.
Grim Fandango.
Dias de las Muertos. Yeah. I don't think they dropped a release for that though.
They said holiday.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yes.
End of the year.
Yeah.
Which is perfect
Yes,
timing. Like, bring out Zelda for launch and Mario for Christmas. Perfect. They thought about this one.
Maybe. But then I suppose given Nintendo's history of scheduling, yeah.
Well, given Nintendo's history of scheduling, it might not actually make it out before Christmas. It might be literally like the last possible minute.
Yeah. And then they ran through some other stuff, which I don't think we want to talk about in detail. There's a new Xenoblade game coming where they changed the character designer, so all the people in it look different, look a lot more anime. Fire Emblem is getting a Musou game called Fire Emblem Warriors.
So that's just Dynasty Warriors, but with Fire Emblem characters.
Yep. Atlas are making a new Shin Megami Tensei for Switch. Square are making something that they have dubbed the utterly bizarre Project Octopath Traveler, which basically looks like they're trying to do... Right, so the only bit of gameplay they showed was incredibly brief and looked like they're doing like SNES-style RPG combat, but they've sort of Darkest Dungeoned it and made it sort of like with dynamic cameras and sort of 3D and with lighting and stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting that they're still trying to do the throwback thing, but like this is an interesting take on it. And the art style looked very Final Fantasy VI.
Well, I guess that's just because that's just their most recent pixel art style, and they're like, yeah, that's our most newly.
I don't even mean that. They had like a concept art photo of them in a bar or something, or set in what looked like a pub, and that looked very that sort of the very wistful sort of floaty looking artwork from. I might be getting that confused with another one of the games, but yeah. But something like that was there. Sega turned up to say, we like you, and that was it.
Yeah.
God, that was pointless. Skyrim confirmed.
And Bethesda came in to say that they like Nintendo as well.
Yeah.
And then this was the part where they just got people to say how much they like Nintendo.
Yeah, pretty much. Went on for this was the point where their the presentations click gimmick started to get a little thin.
Well, because they kept cutting back and forth too quickly.
Yeah,
they were clicking every minute.
They would cut back to I forget who was presenting at the time, but and then he'd always go, "Okay, now let's switch to this person." Click, and that was all he'd say in that segment. And it was like, "There's another click, and there's another transfer." And some people were way more into doing that finger snap than others.
I mean, they should have had the people who were talking do the click. Like, say the Sega guy should have clicked to the Bethesda guy, and then the Bethesda guy should have clicked to Suda, and then that would have made more sense.
That would have been
cutting back to the extra dude.
I did like the fact that he just every time it was like, now let's switch to this person. They didn't even introduce them. It's just let's just go with this guy. Suda51 turned up, as we mentioned earlier, saying he's making a game with Travis Touchdown in it, but that he's talking to other developers about ideas for it. It's
it may or may not be anything to do with No More Heroes apart from the guy.
Yeah.
And and it may be a wrestling game, possibly.
Yeah, he said he wanted to be heavily influenced by pro wrestling. So, okay. That's not a game. Give it 2 years. EA super tall German man and tiny translator man turn up to say we're doing FIFA for Nintendo. And then we had a montage, of which the only thing of note in this montage was, hey, they're making fast racing.
What about Bomberman?
Or was that in the montage? Oh,
yeah.
okay. I didn't
Very
see that.
briefly.
Okay. Yeah, Bomberman R is a thing.
Apparently it's kind of bad.
It kind of
Which I guess
looks
isn't that surprising because it's Bomberman.
It kind of looks it, yeah. Like they do seem to have a mode in it from their official trailer where it looks like a classic Bomberman. They've just rendered it in 3D and it has like one of these sort of wobbling cameras, a bit like Smash Brothers in any modern game. And it's like, no, that doesn't look as good. That actually doesn't look as good as original Bomberman. Where else did we get? Yeah, and then they talked to Reggie for a while, sort of really padding this out, being like,
it seemed kind of unnecessary because they did the European guy first, and he was just like, he did regular ass business stuff, where it's like, oh, you need to check with your local retailers and all this stuff, and then they go to Reggie, and he's like, oh, I just want to talk.
Yeah, that's pretty much all he did. He was like, this is great, isn't it? Let's do some stuff. I'm here at the Europe event where you might get your hands on it early, which is, I guess, why they did this segment, to encourage people to sign up to these early exposure events, which we already knew about anyway. And then Shigsy and, again, forget his name, but the guy who's producing Breath of the Wild were there. And it's like, well, when's this coming out? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to have to hand over to Tokyo for that. And he's like, you've given me a very important question there, which I'm not going to answer. Except then they showed a trailer and it's totally coming out on launch day.
Hooray!
Oh, but except, maybe not in Europe. If that rumour is to be believed.
Was that rumour on 4chan? Then it's true.
That was one of the rumours that came out beforehand.
Right.
That, because of the European translations, they're being allowed to release it not at launch.
That is a friggin' excellent trailer, though. As far as trailers go for conveying excitement about a game.
Yeah.
That did the trick. That's what I was looking for from it in terms of trailers and stuff like that. That's finally got me hype.
It had a second of insane looking Zelda fairy.
Yeah.
You've got to have that in there.
I had a couple of seconds of the new looking Zoras, who are red now apparently,
and have a fish on their head.
Well, they always kind of had a fish tail on their head.
Yeah, but now it's just it's an actual fish. Just their hair is a fish.
This is going to be great. I'm just worried that there won't be any supply and I won't be able to buy one or whatever. But
it does. There's already indications, but based on the pre-order numbers, that's going to be a thing.
Okay, so it might.
So if you want one, pre-order it now.
I'm not pre-ordering, man. I'm going to wait and buy it.
All right, then
when it's available.
Then it may be months.
Yeah,
because that's fine. Nintendo.
Yeah, fair.
By which time Zelda will actually come out in Europe, so you'll be fine.
That'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any more games? That was the show. They ended on that, and they just sort of said, but when it said a very slow reveal of March 3rd as its release date, that was that's it, we're done. We're going to end on that bombshell.
It was kind of unspecific as well, because it's just you almost kind of forgot that was going to be the game's release date, and they weren't just saying that the console was coming out on that as well.
I think everyone knew because it was stylized still as the Zelda thing.
Yeah, I guess. And it was in that video. But
are you guys pre-ordering the thing then?
I'm not sure I'll be able to justify affording one at launch, but in terms of my money output. But yeah, I'm tempted though. But it might be one of those things like I'm doing the Wii U, like wait for it to get a few games that I want to play all at once, and then
Seg?
Yeah, I'm just going to wait and buy it whenever it's available.
Wait and buy it. Okay, cool.
So what other games do we know that are heading that way? Sega outside the show confirmed that Sonic Mania is coming to the
fairly obviously
to the Switch. Yeah, because that's a good fit.
There's a Mario Kart re-release, right? So that's good.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm glad they went with the route of being specific and pointing out this is a port of this game.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
That's cool. I haven't been able to play it because I don't have a Wii U, so that's good for me.
I was a little bit annoyed when I looked at it at first, and it's like, oh no, what have they added? They've got Inklings in it, and oh no, wait, and then I thought a new track for a second. It's like, oh no, how much have they expanded this by? And it's like, oh no, that wasn't a new track. That was a battle arena because they've revamped battle into the old style again.
Oh right.
So that's basically the thing about this one, that old battle is back, and they've added the Inklings, and this basically just has all of the DLC from the Wii U version.
Cool.
But that sounds like it. It's not like you're like if you
that was
already
paid for, right? Wasn't it? That DLC?
Yeah, it was, but it was very reasonably paid for. It was a very, very good price for what that DLC is. Yeah, so they're doing that. It's like, so for me, that's like
sweet.
Okay. But,
well, you don't need to buy it because you've already got it, but I can get it, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a damn good Mario Kart. Anything else they said they were doing? I can't really think of much else, or I haven't noted anything else.
No Mario Maker announcement, but
no,
or no Pokemon. What's it?
Yeah, Pokemon Star. They didn't confirm.
Star.
I think we're some way away from seeing that.
Man, imagine if that came out this year. You'd have Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon.
I'm pretty sure it's going to come out this year if it's going to come out.
I think that's going to be a holiday release. If it's going to come out this year,
really?
Yeah.
It's only a port job. Can't be that difficult.
No, it's but they usually wait. How long do they wait between like the 2 and then the crystal one or whatever?
Yeah, but that's different when it's on the same system because that's like.
But I think that's the idea, even though it's a different system, is that it will be a sort of deluxe version or whatever, just like those are.
Yeah, and given that Nintendo have been, a bit in an official capacity, been quite quiet about it, I can't see that coming out anytime soon. I've been totally wrong on that before, in fairness. Like, I thought Zelda was going to get delayed, for sure. But...
Well, there was a rumour that it was going to get delayed, and then it got undelayed in a different rumour.
Mm.
Well, I mean, apart from the cost being a little bit much, but if it was $250 plus $50 for a game, that would be better.
Yeah, if you look at it in a different way, in like how much they're trying to cram in those Joy-Cons and the system's capabilities and the dock, there is something to be said that its price point doesn't sound too unreasonable.
Yeah, I think that's all right. Yeah. Cool.
Nintendo Switch.
Okay, that's the news.
Well, I want to raise one bit of news.
Yeah, one more non-Nintendo news.
Non-Nintendo, but it's kind of a bummer for me because it was the one Xbox game left that I was the Xbox exclusive that I was kind of looking forward to because it was by Platinum Games and had dragons that looked like they belonged in Panzer Dragoon in it. Scalebound has been cancelled.
Ooh.
And it sounds like it was a friggin' mess. Like, not the game, but like how it's been managed. So, which makes Microsoft's last 2 cancellations, this and Fable Legends, sound very, very similar. Like just mismanaged and creative differences from Microsoft really butting heads with the development team to a point where the rumor is that this game has been in development limbo for quite some time, with them just sort of spinning their wheels and not being able to make some crucial decisions. And eventually Microsoft getting a bit fed up and pulling the plug. Despite the fact that game was due out in a few months.
Yeah, fail.
It's a bummer. I think that looked really interesting. It had a style and an attitude that I thought could have been neat. The weirdest thing about this is Phil Spencer says the result is better for gamers.
Right.
Go look up his quote. It's really odd. It's really odd. There is no sincerity to it at all. I normally like Phil Spencer, but you're wrong, man.
But
that's almost Matrick levels of bullshit. Almost. It's not.
Almost.
It's not. We have a product for that.
Right.
But yeah, it leaves Microsoft in a fairly nasty state. I guess their Xbox exclusive lineup is like 3 games this year that we know about. It's like Sea of Thieves, Crackdown, and I forget what the third one was.
No Halo this year.
Oh, Halo Wars 2. That's it. That was the other one, and that's it. That's not making me feel good about my Xbox right now.
No, Sony are doing much better with that.
This might be the year I get a PS4.
Yeah.
Or steal my brother's that he doesn't use. One of the two.
You'll probably get a Pro knowing him, and you can steal his normal one.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's that bothered. He really doesn't use his PS4 very much by his own admission. He's just not got into it. And Blarg,
right. What you been playing? Zach, what you been playing?
Are we going to start this whole massive pile of stuff that we've been playing since Christmas?
Games!
When we all started playing games.
What have you been playing since Christmas?
Well, start with things that only I played, I guess. Maybe.
Setting up a segue. I like it.
Yes, that's the ideal plan. Got to move this in a logical direction.
It's like we might have done this 178 times before.
Yep. And virtually never correctly set up segues before. Okay, so the first thing that I played, I guess, which probably don't need to talk about too much because it's kind of weird and was just a weird thing that I picked up in the sale because it was cheap and I'd seen it around a couple of times and I was like, what the fuck is this? But I played a game called Creeper World 3.
Creeper World?
Yes.
Okay, I know nothing about this.
No, exactly. Basically, what
Man
it
looks
is...
up thing on Google.
Basically, what it is it's a kind of a tower defense game, kind of. I guess you build towers and they defend. I guess that was literally the definition of that, tower defense.
Yep.
But the enemy is like basically a pile of goop that spreads across the level. So it's like it was sort of fluid dynamics, except it's like top-down 2D, so it's not actual fluid dynamics. It's just like simple square-to-square spreading or whatever. So basically you just have to like... It's slightly weird because the tower defense aspect is like only really relevant right at the start of the game because you have to build fast enough and efficiently enough and put your turrets in the right place to prevent you from being immediately overwhelmed by the wave of goop that's coming. But then after you've set up a defense that can destroy the goop sufficiently quickly compared to how fast it's being produced, it's like you might as well just end the level there, except it doesn't, which is kind of the problem with the game, because then you've got like half an hour of working your way through the goop to the spawners to get rid of the spawners, and it's like, once you've set up a defense that can withstand the wave, you're basically done, but then the level goes on for another half hour.
As in, you're not going to die, but you...
Because nothing really changes. That's the problem with it. It's like, once you've solved the puzzle of how to survive right at the start, then you're basically done. Which is slightly strange. I feel like they could have set up ways to make it change. Because there are a couple of levels where it does slightly different things, like the goop becomes like controlled by gravity waves or whatever, so it like moves to one side of the level and then to the other side of the level. So you've got like a periodic thing or stuff like that. It's like they could have done maybe some more stuff. And there are like a couple of other smaller elements to it. Like there's this kind of like grid that is on certain levels, like this lattice that spreads across the level that like helps the goop spread faster along it. So you've got to like more heavily defend those points. And then there's like little enemies that can walk along the grid when it's active. So you have to build special turrets to deal with those. And it's like there are some slight elements of traditional tower defend against different kind of enemies stuff, but you're more or less only worrying about the major goop wave.
I wonder if it, like some of the stuff you talked about, phases there might have been a good approach to perhaps solve some of that the success problem, I suppose. Like if it had an aggressive, it's in attack formation now, and then once that's over with and you've survived it, it's like, all right, here's a window for you to push, but you've got to do it within the time window before its next aggression wave.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe it gets the way the aggression waves get tougher each time, so there's an emphasis on doing it successfully. I think there's a definite solution to that problem.
Yeah,
but then I'm looking at some of this stuff about the game here, and it looks like it has actually got quite a lot of variance actually in some of its setups.
Well, it's got a lot of levels at least because like it has a story mode, which is where the more like specifically designed levels that actually have the different aspects more, those appear there. And then it's got like there's basically like two what appear to be, they're not randomly generated there, but they're like clearly machine generated levels, I suppose, where it's just like there's two other sets that have a shit ton of levels, one of which is much harder than the other, but they appear to be like computer generated levels, which means they're mostly a lot the same, and they gradually introduce more of the elements the further you get through it or whatever.
And the elements you've already seen.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And then there's also like player created levels and like some kind of upload download system for those. So there's a fucking lot of levels basically. But
yeah, it looks like
there's a lot of them that are quite similar.
It looks like there's some supply chain stuff as well.
Kind of, but not really. It's like the ammo for the turrets, and when you're building things, it flows along your network of links. But you by your natural progression, you cut in kind of the same way as the goop. You want to just cover as much terrain with your grid as possible as well, because that's how you get extra energy. So you kind of naturally build a grid. The only slight difference to that is that you can build special nodes that transport the packets faster. So you can create a faster bit of network. But that doesn't even really matter either, because
you can upgrade your routes.
Well, it's because it's like a constant flow of packets. So once you've then got past the initial like 3 seconds of the packets traveling to like a gun, they're just constantly flowing because it's always shooting. So it becomes relevant again. There's just that like you could make those packets get there on that first when you're building it just slightly quicker.
Doesn't actually improve throughput, is what you mean?
No.
Yeah, that sounds like a missed option. I'm assuming they have reasons for it being there, but that seems like what you'd want, right? It's the difference between like, I'm firing all these packets over broadband compared to fiber.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is like all the levels have time trial leaderboards. So, like, you're rated on how fast you can complete it. So, I guess to a certain extent, there is reason to do things as fast as possible. And potentially, there's tactics where, like, if you get ahead of the slime wave, you could get to the spawners quicker because they won't have released as much goop that you have to fight through early in the level.
I see. Yeah. So you can be done with it.
Yeah. So, I guess that's where the speed aspect comes in. But yes, it's a small little tower defense game, very good for listening to podcasts too, which is mainly what I did with it over the Christmas period.
It doesn't seem like a terrible concept.
No,
it does seem kind of nice, but perhaps needs just a few little slightly deeper mechanics and more variation.
Yeah. So that's that.
Interesting.
It was like £3, so
Yeah, a nice blindside as well for the podcast. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes, got to have at least one of those. And then I played some amount of Enter the Gungeon, and we recorded a video of it.
Yep,
so that'll be up in like a month or two at this point.
No, I skipped to it.
Oh, okay.
So that is up right now.
Check out our YouTube channel.
I think when we do basically when we do newish games, it makes sense for me to just upload them immediately because I guess it's their window that people might actually watch them. We don't get much traction on our new stuff videos, in fairness, but
no, we don't get much traction on any videos.
No, we've had a bad 6 months.
We've had a bad as long as that YouTube channel has existed.
Play more worms, everyone will be happy.
Yeah. Well, I think weirdly the New York race video is quickly becoming.
Is that a favourite?
It's continuing to be popular.
Well, How about Starquake? How's that doing?
Starquake's doing well. That sort of stopped. I think everyone that wanted to watch Starquake has watched Starquake.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like when you have videos of things that are kind of weird and rare, like New York race. That's where you get the views somehow.
So anyway, Draco.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, yeah, Enter the Gungeon. I've played a few more runs of it, I guess. I've started to like see where it has marginally more depth than I initially thought it was, because it's basically like Isaac, only with free actual dual stick instead of 4-directional shooting. I guess.
Was that still true of the Rebirth version as well?
Yeah. It's still only I think you can still only shoot 4-direction. It's just easier to like do the diagonal or shifted shots in the newer versions of Isaac.
Okay.
But you still only have the actual 4 directions that you can technically shoot in. So yeah, Enter the Gungeon is more like a dual stick shooter because you have guns as well, obviously. And it's less like Isaac in that you're not so much making a build out of picking up items like you do in Isaac. Like in Gungeon, it's pretty much entirely based on what guns you get, and the passives and active items that you get are much less important.
Not quite so bonkers.
No.
Or effective. Or
like combining.
Yeah.
So yeah, you pick up the guns and you run around and you shoot things, and it's all about gun puns. Everything is a gun pun.
Pretty good at that, in fairness.
Pretty good.
Take some effort to come up with that many puns.
And also, like, gun puns and references to other games with famous guns, I suppose.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best weapons that I've had so far has been the Proton Pack, of course.
Woo!
That was a pretty nice beam weapon. Although last night I did have the best run that I've had so far when, like, I think it was in the first level even, I randomly got the prototype railgun. Which basically acts quite a lot like a Spartan laser from Halo. Like, it has a charge-up period, and then you unleash the shot.
And then it pretty much murders everything.
Yeah, then it pretty much obliterates everything. And it's like, it's ridiculous, because it's like, not only is it like, basically hit scan, like it fires instantly, essentially, but it's also penetrating, so it goes through anything that's in a line.
Oh, nice.
And it does a ludicrous amount of damage per shot. It does only take one shot at a time, obviously. It doesn't technically reload. It's like once you fire it, it's just automatically cooling down for the next shot, I guess. But yeah, that was insanely powerful. And then I picked up an active item that for a short period of time gives you 2 bullets for every bullet. So it basically just fires 2 railguns simultaneously.
Nice.
So yeah, that got me through most of the bosses. Just kept that gun in reserve. Make sure I always had ammo before I went in the boss room. And then I was like, oh, well, that will help a lot with this.
You say most of the boss rooms. Have you finished a run yet?
No, I think I got to maybe the last boss, or like the last at this point of the game boss, possibly. Which is like a giant dragon made out of bullets, as you would imagine.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was called.
Oh.
Don't remember the dumb bullet pun that it had.
Names are the best things. Bullets.
Yes, bullets. They're bat bullets. Ammo mancers.
You're so dumb.
I did like.
What were the books called? They had really dumb names.
The books were like, I don't remember what the books were called, but then there's the different editions of the books had their names, like Ammonancy 101 and Bulliteracy.
Oh yeah, Bulliteracy. That was it.
I think one of the later bosses was called a Revolverant instead of like a Revenant.
Yes, yeah.
Which is like a bit of a stretch, but okay.
Yeah. I'll take it.
And there was the Gorgon. Because, Gorgons.
I like the cut of that game's jib.
Yep, it's pretty good. And it does seem to have like some layers to its like progression. Like as you play more runs, you like rescue other people to populate the initial town area, I guess you'd call it. Not playable characters, but just like shops and stuff, I guess. Like I've now rescued some people that give you like long-term missions where it's like kill 100 of this one specific type of enemy over your runs and that kind of stuff.
But they don't really end up in giving you advantages, do they, per se? Like I think you described it on the video as like at least for the stuff you knew at the time, you're unlocking the ability for these things to potentially occur during a run. Yeah,
it seems like it. Like the all I've seen so far in terms of unlocking stuff is unlock new guns and passive items that you can then find in the runs. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to affect like your starting stats. Basically, you're always going to initialize a run the same, just like in Isaac, I suppose, depending on which character you pick. And yeah, so yeah, played a fair few more runs of that. I'm still really bad at it. It's quite difficult to concentrate on what the fuck you're doing when you're trying to dodge and then dodge roll and also shoot and reload.
Yeah, I was
keep track of your ammo.
at it. And honestly, that's going to take some getting used to, that game. But yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my first run on the video. Like, I hadn't had any practice beforehand. That was just me going at it. And
I'd only done like 2 or 3 runs before that video.
Yeah. Go watch some noob runs.
Yep, definitely noob runs. So yeah, that's that. Lots of bullet funds. Rob made a fun eventually.
Yeah, I got
took him until after the video to come up with it, but luckily we were still recording.
Worked out well.
I was about to say it, but I'll leave it.
Yes.
I'll leave it as a little extra, a little tease for you.
So that was Enter the Gut. And then I think, well, there's stuff that we don't need to talk about, like Rocket League and and so on.
Not a great deal new to mention there anyway. So
nope, we played some of that, certainly. Apparently, there might be a bug with the car that we use in our dream team in Ranked.
Oh, really?
Apparently, when they fixed the bug with the Batmobile, they, transferred the bug onto the Octane somehow.
Oh.
Like, if you land in a certain way, you, bounce sideways for no reason.
Huh. I noticed that.
Well, I'm not sure it existed the last time we played, maybe. And I haven't played that vehicle since that patch either, so by myself, because I don't use it unless we're playing in our team.
I still haven't got to the bottom of why, at least for the last few times we've tried it, I've started getting significant lag spikes in that game.
I was getting a few, on a server. There was one specific server that it connected to me to a couple of times when I quit, and it was like, this server is literally laggy. I can tell it's the server because none of the other ones are doing it. But I don't think that was your problem.
No, because it wasn't affecting you.
The rest of us.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. The game only seems happy at the moment if I do a complete restart of everything and then try and play it. That seems to make it manageable, at least.
And Kippers has always had weird lag problems with his own.
Yeah.
And obviously his fucked up controller situation, but that's that's a different problem. So yeah, that's Rocket League. I almost forgot that I also needed to talk about Shenzhen I.
Yes. And what genre is that in?
It's in the genre Zach likes, apparently.
Stuff that Zach likes.
Well, no, made by Zachtronic Games. Because basically they're all the same thing. Infinifactory and Space Game and Shenzhen and TIS 100. They're basically all programming simulators in different degrees of obscuration.
Abstraction, I guess.
Yeah.
Although this one's more programmy. Well, it's more electronic-y, isn't it?
Well, basically, if you're talking about how abstracted they are, you've got it goes down the list. You've got Infinifactory as most abstract, then you've got Space Game, then you've got Shenzhen, and then you've got TIS.
Yeah.
So Shenzhen is easily the most programmy one that I've played so far. And yeah, it's pretty much just writing fake code into microchips, sort of, I guess. You basically you have to put chips into the thing you're making, so there's a limited area for you to put the chips in, so that limits basically how much code you can write, because the chips take up space, and you can only write code within the space of the chips.
Okay. And
then each chip has this little code window where you write the code for that chip, and then different chips have different secondary things, like the basic chip only has one basically variable, I guess you'd call it. It's like a memory slot that you can put the information into, but you have you overwrite it whenever you do anything with it and that kind of thing. And then the advanced chip has 2 slots, but only one of them can do maths. So if you want to do a maths function on it, you have to transfer it into the slot that you can actually do maths on. So yeah, it's just basically this fake coding thing, and you have to write a looping bit of code per chip that deals with the incoming data and does a thing.
And outputs it in one or more ways.
Generally, it's like basically when you're running the level, it has like a bar at the bottom that shows you like incoming signals and then what you have to output over time. So you have to make it match basically by writing your fancy code to do it. And it's a game which has a actual manual, which is a PDF file, which you kind of need to have open in order to be able to see specific information, particularly on some of the puzzles where there are very specific chips that do very specific things.
But that in itself is part of the abstraction, isn't it? Like, with its language barrier.
Yeah. It, like, because it has its own weird language, there's certain things where it's just like there's a point in this early part of the story where it's like they reveal that you didn't actually have the whole manual because part of it hadn't been translated from Chinese, so there was a couple of code commands that you didn't know about, and it's like, oh, now you can use these new commands. so you do.
Is it actually in Chinese? These bits of manual you get to see. So are the Chinese bits part of your
There's
download?
There's one page that's completely in Chinese for a chip that I haven't used yet. A very complicated looking chip, which is probably why it's part of the puzzle. Which is like, here, have this ridiculous looking chip that has like a whole bunch of symbols all over it and the manual's in Chinese, so you could like work out what the fuck it does. Haven't got to that puzzle yet though, so I don't know. But then, you know,
that's the challenge.
A lot of the other manual stuff is just like you have to look up the way chips output certain values on certain inputs and stuff like that. Where it's like you want to have this chip that when you input like 100, it comes out as 20 or something for no apparent reason, just because that's what the chip does, and you have to know what port it's going to go out of and whether it's a packet or a continuous signal. So yeah, that game's pretty difficult.
I looked at, you showed me it briefly. It's like, well, the bit you showed me didn't look that tough. That's kind of...
No, it was one of the earlier puzzles, I guess.
Yeah, like you and I, Dan, would pretty much instinctively know some of the stuff we'd need to do to clear that, but yeah.
But even though I don't technically know much about programming, I'm still like occasionally frustrated by the limitations of their fake language. Where it's just like, you can't even divide in the maths. So you can't do that. You can only multiply and add and subtract, I guess. Can't divide because it did. I guess they didn't want to deal with remainders and stuff.
They didn't want to have any floating point.
Yeah.
Is it all integers?
Yeah.
I guess that sort of makes sense.
But it is kind of awkward when you want to like, if you have an incoming packet and you like, okay, I need to know what 2 times this packet is, but I also need to retain the original packet. So if I bring in the packet and then multiply it by 2, then I'm fucked because I don't have the original packet any longer.
And there's no way to like store a reference to the old.
Well, you have to store it in the other memory slot. If you've got the 2 memory slot chip, you have to store it in both memory slots and then only multiply it in one of them, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it would get more complicated more quickly. Like
exactly.
you'd probably end up with a modulus operator that gives you the remainder.
Yeah, ideally.
Like yeah.
Well, yeah, I had that exact conversation with Zach. It's like, integer math isn't that tricky.
And maybe that will happen. Maybe it's another one of those secret bits of code that we haven't had translated from Chinese yet.
You must have modulus in Infinifactory, right? Is it odd or is it even, basically? Do you ever do that? Like what, every other one goes the other way or something like that?
Kinda, except not really. Like there's a level where you have to make 2 outputs and one of them's too long and one of them's 3 long. But then the way you do that is you just stack up 5 of the input block and then have 2 of them go onto one belt and 3 of them going onto the other belt. Right. You don't actually have to think about it really. You just make stacked inputs and then separate them. I mean, there are ways to make counters if you want to in Infinifactory to make it do something once every so many counts or whatever. But you don't need to. So that's that. That's Shenzhen.
Shenzhen I.
And then the last thing, which is where the segue comes in, because it's something both me and Rob have played. Yep, exactly. Me and Rob both played Owlboy.
Owlboy. Ools.
This seems to be the main game of the moment.
Owlboy.
I got that for someone for Christmas. Rob? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think you got it for me.
Yeah, I just bought it later. At the sale.
I really like that game.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's not. I think there are it could have been. There's plenty in places where you can say, yeah, that could be better and that could have been improved, or But on the whole, it's a pretty great sort of retro experience. It's one of those games that makes me harken back to sort of like, this is what playing games used to feel like. I'm sure, but
maybe
yeah, but just a little bit slicker. Like, you know, I really like the Neo Geo throwback look to it. That sort of the way that pixel art hangs looks very much like it belonged on a Neo Geo, and how they limited themselves a little bit to what that was done. Even when the rare occasion where they decide to do a zoom in that game, there's a way that zoom looks like some sort of, like, they don't bother blurring it, and they don't bother doing, like, it's like there's a fuzziness to it. Yeah, there's a fuzziness to it, and the way the parallax doesn't quite move correct with it that I kind of dig. That's like, no, this is how it would have looked. That's cool. But there's a niceness to the animation in spots as well that is very reminiscent of that. Like, you know, certain things like animate at a certain low frame rate, and then you get the sort of the sort of fire that comes off of the Giddy's blaster shots. It's really nicely animated, or the little explosions, really nicely done. And it's it's a great. I love its look, and it's kind of a weird. You know, sort of, I don't know, I think it's like music and sound are kind of fighting against each other in some way, because the sound design is kind of retro while the music design is a proper orchestra.
Yeah.
And it's the two things do feel like they fight a little bit at times, but that soundtrack's really good.
Yeah.
Gnome didn't like it because she listened to it and was like, I'm not sure the tone of this music fits what's going on right now.
And she's an actual orchestra, so she would.
Yeah, well, she thought it was tonally off, but I didn't have that problem at all. I thought it was good. It's a neat game. It's. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like Metroidvania style, but it has a little bit of that. It's more of a linear progression as you go along. But you just revisit.
There's only a couple of times where there's anything that blocks you that you can't do until you get an ability.
Yeah.
Like, you have to come back to.
And it's only ever for, like, the currency, often. Not usually for anything super important.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of times where the game actually just points that out to you as well. It's like, hey, you should probably go do that thing. Now that you can do that thing. But it's interesting, like having a platform game that's not a platformer. You fly everywhere, and it's that felt kind of different.
Well, and it's also a dual stick shooter, like Gundam, basically. You're moving a reticle around and shooting in a direction most of the time. It's
got some neat. I think the story was neat, although it does fall into the without being spoilery too much. It does fall into the indie game trope of being way too ambiguous when it gets to its main driving point of it all.
Well, there's a couple of problems. Well, the first problem I had with it is, like, it's clearly not long enough. It's like, it feels like there was just a bunch that could have been added. They could have extended the game quite a bit more.
There's not a lot. There's not a lot of areas, and you spend way too much time in Stratos, and that area gets really annoying.
Yeah. So there's that
and the stealth sections. Not a big fan of the stealth sections.
Well, some of them were better than others.
Yeah, the poison stealth section.
Yeah, that kind of sucked.
Not so good.
But, like, story-wise, the problem that I had with it, without going into spoilers, was that, like, it had a perfect setup and a lore reason for there to be either a New Game Plus or an alternate ending, or both, and it didn't have it.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean about the ambiguity of that storyline and what has happened and what hasn't happened, and you never really know why things are how they are or how they end up, and it's that always bugs me because it's like I do the thing where I finish the game immediately and I'm like, all right, what? And I end up going like and reading theories and
well, the
blog
trouble with
posts and
this
stuff
case
like
is
that.
you
And
had
going,
to you had to finish it and then you had to go back
yeah,
for one specific thing.
but then that in itself only adds to the mess.
Yeah.
It doesn't answer any questions at all. It just makes it more complicated. And it's like, I kind of love it and hate it at the same time for that. Because it's awesome, but I kind of wanted to walk away from it with a little more satisfaction, like in the narrative.
Yeah, and it also suffers from trying not to spoil it again, but it also kind of suffers from the same problem that Bravely Default had, where like the person you're fighting against for most of the game, you think he's a bad guy, but he's not.
Yeah, that was kind of I saw that a mile off. To be fair,
well, yeah.
like, yeah,
I mean, obviously, but like your characters again are just like, we have to stop this thing from happening, and it's like, maybe you don't want to stop that thing from happening, guys.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing that happened in Bravely Default.
Oh, what with the layers? You mean?
With the crystals in Bravely Default,
okay,
where it's like we have to save the crystals. It's like, no, actually, you have to very specifically not save the crystals. Essentially,
that's a fairly common plot device. I'm okay with that, but I thought it was done quite well.
Well, I thought it was,
but I still saw it coming.
Well, like right at the end, I thought it was kind of dumb. Like, you can't talk about it without necessarily spoiling it too much.
You can't talk about specifics. You can't talk about characters.
No, but like when you're coming up to this last bit, and you're like, okay, I'm in the room. Here's the guy. A thing's going to happen, and if you've already completed it once, and you've reloaded the game, you've gone and seen the secret stuff, and then you've gone back in. That should be where there should be an option to not do the thing you're about to do, surely.
Yeah, I guess you should go into that, and that would be really interesting if that played out differently because of the extra knowledge you've gained and stuff like that. Yeah, there's some odd and cool stuff they could have done with replays that they haven't touched.
Yeah,
there are some differences, but they seem unintentional. And again, I won't go into it there, but there's some reports of very weirdly minor things changing on a second and third run through, but they are so minor that it doesn't sound like they mean anything.
Yeah, it's just like, it was so obvious. They could have easily had the New Game Plus hook, but it just ends.
But I still come away thinking I really quite like this. It was neat. It drew me back repeatedly. Cool. To be like, what am I going to do now? I could start something. I could start a big game. And it's like, no, I'm going to finish freaking Owlboy.
And they did.
I still put like 11 hours into it, to get all the way through and feel satisfied that I finished it.
Get everything. Yeah, basically.
I didn't 100% the achievements because most of them are hidden, and I had to look up a few of them. And they are quite easy to get, but it's like, but there's just one that's really dumb, and it's like, well, I'm not going to waste the time to do that. Like,
no. They did fall into one more of like the classic, like collectible game traps where the last upgrade that you get for collecting everything makes it much easier to traverse the world when you don't need to any longer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thanks. I've traversed the entire world, hunted down all these hidden coins, and then when I get the upgrade, it's just a thing that lets me traverse the world much easier.
It's like, I could have done with that while I was doing my fetch quest.
And you really don't need to. Like, at that point, there's literally nothing unless you haven't got one of the secret coin things, I guess.
And you have to go back to it.
There's literally no, and even like in the last level after the point of no return, you still can't use it because of reasons.
Actually, I thought the sort of no, can't spoil it. Yeah, I'll stop. It's a cool game. It's worth playing for sure.
Yes.
Or the thing that makes me smile every time is that D-pad logo when it you
just like that noise.
Yeah, but like it has a real cool sort of like a nice old school sort of doo sort of jingle. But then there's the way I think the voice in the background is saying D-pad sounds so much like, I don't know, just like some guy going D-pad, like with such an accent to it as well. So it's like doo D-pad. It's great. I love it. Yeah, a cool game for sure.
Yes.
Pixel games.
Yeah.
Shall I take my segue and run with it?
You should do.
Yeah.
What have you been playing, Rob?
Played a bit of Overwatch. Because they added a new level. There's now an official sort of King of the one of those the King of the Hill style levels added.
Well, now we're done with 2016. That does seem to have been a popular choice for Game of the Year among the.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it was fairly common amongst various reports. And it's a big deal. It is a very, very well constructed game. I think it deserves to be getting the attention it does. I still think The Witness was correctly our choice, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's our choice though.
Yeah. And Zank did point out that The Witness had some sound effects we should have talked about for best audio thing as well. Which again I can't really talk about because they're spoilerific, but
because this is a spoiler casting.
No, but yeah, there's some stuff we probably should have nominated it for.
But Overwatch,
it's still very good. The new level is very good as well. I think there's a certain amount of they've got to the point where like when they do a new level, it looks a little bit like, oh, okay, no, you've pulled this asset from here and this asset from there, and it's like not necessarily entirely all new work, but it's still a fun to play new edition, and it's got some vertical stuff that's kind of new to it as well. Like there's one point where they've put an Unreal Tournament style like jump pad in, and it's like, oh, we haven't had these before, and that means there's like more. There's a nasty opportunity for someone to do some vertical camping at one point, and it's like, oh, okay. But it's a good fun level. So, you know, that game continues to be fun to play. I still, please, Zach, come join us in our guerrilla-based warfare. And... I don't really have a great deal else to talk about other than my 360's been sat under the TV for a while. Because I got it like while I was gonna sort it out and like put it away, and I thought, okay, well, if I'm gonna put this up in the loft, I better do what I was gonna do and move all my saves off it onto into the cloud. So if the games do become backwards compatible, like my saves are all accessible and stuff. So I did all that, which took friggin' ages, and then but because it was out, it's like I'm gonna play some games. So Zach and I played Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Which is a fun-ass game. Although, it's one of those games where it's really fun at first, but then as you start actually starting to care about its mechanics a bit, the inconsistencies in it are, for a Capcom fighter, are a little surprising in spots. Like certain specials, which clearly have a long wind-up, but during the wind-up they're invincible for some reason, whereas others you can interrupt immediately. And like clear animation hit zone whiffs and things like that, where it's what with its crazy ass assist system, it's way too hard to see what's going on sometimes. It's one of those things where I really like its style, but if you want to try and be good at it, it's kind of frustrating in the same way that a lot of Capcom games are, I guess.
That was why we had to make sure not to play it too much and start worrying about it. You have to play it occasionally when you can just button mash and it's weird and funny.
Yeah. So I did play a bit more of it. Like after we played it, trying to solo it, trying to figure out, because I did get reasonably okay at it at one point. Playing it with a fight stick this time because that works. And yeah, just eventually just ran into the same problems that I did before. It's like I'm not quite sure. There are certain AI opponents which are where the AI is just obscenely good with them, and they all tend to be the fast characters, which is a classic fighting game problem. Like Street Fighter 4 had this in spades, whereas the moment you come across a fast character, you're done. It's like you just have no window. Like I don't have the reflexes to do what I need to do against a fast character, which the AI can do immediately. And it's and that becomes no fun. So if you get a fight like that, then you're in real trouble. Same here. And sometimes you can get a real nasty hand of that, because if there's 3 characters you could be fighting against, and if all 3 of them are quick, then you're in a lot of trouble. And because of the nature of the team up attacks and things like that, especially on the last boss where you're fighting 2 fully controlled AI people at once. And they can combine attacks in some really nasty ways. And it's like, well, I've lost all my health before I've even got to the main boss fight. It puts me in a state where it's like actually maybe the move towards having only 2 characters per side in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite might have been a smart idea. I mean, it takes away a little bit about what makes that game unique, but in terms of it actually being a playable fighting game,
something you can actually play.
Yeah, that might be a sensible move. But it's a thing. It's a fun, ridiculous thing. I kind of wish they would. Yeah, it's good that they're doing more of it. Let's hope it's good. But yeah, while it was out, I also tried a few other things. It's like you can't go back to Dead or Alive 4. Like, just that game plays so differently to everything else. It's like, no, I can't play this at all. What else did I try? I tried a bit of Street Fighter 4 on the fight stick. It still sucked. Still can't get into that game at all. It's like I tried doing the mission mode with Ryu, and the first few things it asks you to do are combos that require frame precise timing, and it's like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I played a bit of Soul Calibur 5 with the fight stick.
Oh my goodness. It's a fighting game.
Yeah. I just wanted to see what they were like with the stick, mainly.
Yeah.
And it's like, that game plays really well and is actually still really good. I liked that a lot the first time when I first started playing it, but like, yeah, playing it again now is like, this game's really quite good. Like 4 I wasn't so hot on because Darth Vader and Yoda were ridiculously overpowered because they were in that game.
Yeah, I remember that.
But 5 was a really nice balance, even though Ezio is in it. Ezio actually fits that game really well and is a cool character to play as. So yeah, 5 is a pretty good package. And it had a proper story mode and things like that. When it was going up against Street Fighter in terms of and Marvel being like super bare bones packages, and then Soul Calibur and Mortal Kombat come along going, yeah, we've got a story mode and we've got this other mode and you can make your own characters, and it's like, oh, okay, there's more to you. I like you. That's still a cool game. I'd quite like to see a Soul Calibur 6.
What's going on with that? Is that a possibility? Or
well, they sort of teased nothing by doing like, hey, it's been like 20 years of Soul Calibur or something recently.
Helpful.
And they put out a trailer going, hey, isn't Soul Calibur great? And it's like, yeah, it is. Give us another one. And then they haven't said a thing. I guess Namco are busy with Tekken 7 right now. So there's that. And the final thing that I tried, of all the games I have, because it's not backwards compatible, so I thought, let's give this a go for the kicks. Oh no, there's 2 more things. I played Ridge Racer 6.
It's Ridge Racer.
It's Ridge Racer, yeah. There's a simplicity of Days Gone By that game reminds me of.
I don't know how that game got to that point where it was like next generation graphics and stuff and was just Ridge Racer.
Yeah, the same handling, the same ridiculous on rails sliding, the same. Admittedly, it had the nitro mechanics that had been only in the PSP version before.
Yeah, that PSP one was really good.
But yeah, this is the PSP version.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and there's your bombastic announcer, your bonkers music, your before HD was really an accepted thing, super large fonts. It's a fun thing to go back to, and I found it kind of difficult to tear myself away from it once I'd started. I thought, I'll just play a couple of races, remind myself about this. Ended up playing like 10 or 12 of them before eventually stopping, and it's like, I can see why I went through the ridiculously long campaign of this now. That's sort of a nice, relaxing, just brainless game that's kind of okay.
Yeah, it's got something, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really stupid, and it doesn't play in a particularly skillful way. It's quite easy, but it satisfies. And then finally, I played through all of Child of Eden on hard mode, which I hadn't done before. I thought, fine, this is never going to be backwards compatible because of its Kinect stuff.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't playing it with Kinect. I was playing with the controller, and yeah, did the whole thing in hard mode, and it's like that was nice and uplifting.
Yeah, with the space whales.
The space whales, yeah. I said hello to the space whales. Shot some ethereal fireman in the arse. It's you can do that. Fired bullets at a tree. make photos appear.
Yeah, that guy seems to be wanting to get back into games after having been like
Mizuguchi, yeah, after being out for a while.
Out for a while.
And then making... Well, I'm assuming it was him that was behind Res Infinite and Area X and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was him, yeah. And a new team or whatever. Well, relatively new. He had his old producer, I think.
Yeah. Get back some of UGA. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing. That's my roundup.
Coolio.
It's been a fun couple of weeks, really. Or fun 4 weeks, like however long since we actually did a proper roundup. But yeah, sort of enjoying it.
Excellent. Games. What's on the horizon?
Not a lot, really. I don't know. Nothing really much on my radar. It's a reasonable year for some stuff. Like we've got Horizon on PS4 soon.
Yeah. But you don't have a PS4 yet, so...
But I can steal one, probably.
Okay, fair enough.
I still want to play Uncharted 4, for instance. So.
Yeah, me too, kind of. Games. Yeah. I've been playing Homeworld for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I saw that pop up.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember that?
You're playing the remastered version, right?
Yeah, it's the remastered version.
How far had you got with that before then? Because you were you telling us about the first one, or had you jumped straight to the second?
No, I was playing the first one, but I didn't get that far. But now I've got quite a bit further, so I think I'm like at least halfway through the first Homeworld campaign at this point. That game is. I mean, it looks cool. I like the feel of it or whatever, or the kind of the world or whatever, and I like the ships and like the graphics and everything are really nicely updated and stuff. But like as a game, as an RTS game, it's kind of weird. It's very rock, paper, scissors. And I've worked out that really, basically, I don't think you can really play it properly. I think you basically have to... you have to know what's coming in order to configure your rocks and your papers in the right, in order to build the right rocks.
Right. So you play the level, see what's coming, and then
you have to do that.
But there was always a bit of that, like RTSs, though. Yeah. Even in looking at the Command and Conquers and stuff, that was very much that. Right. Get a feel for what happens on this level. That's true. And then use your foreknowledge to beat it.
But this is a bit more extreme because your fleet persists between levels. And sometimes you get ambushed instantly. So basically you have to know what's coming in the next level and then go back to the end of the previous one in order to build your fleet.
Ooh, that's kind of nasty.
Which is kind of a bit grim. But that's basically how it works, as far as I can tell. And with that method, I can get through, whatever. And also, there's no kind of speed up button for collecting resources. So if you've got to the end of the mission... You just have to wait if you want to collect all the resources while your guy's flying around. You can use that time to sort of, reconfigure your fleet and stuff and build what you need for the next mission. But sometimes you sort of have to go and make a cup of tea or something and leave the game running so that you can collect your stuff.
It's a little odd. You think they'd have thought of that and just been like, hey, you've got everything on this map.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no kind of, despite the fact they've lovingly... restored it. There's no real kind of
quality of life improvements.
Quality of life improvements to it. But I do like the kind of weird. I like the style of it. I like the sort of bare bones story of it. It's quite nice. The sort of the aliens seem alien or whatever, even though they're just ships. You don't see what they look like as aliens or whatever. It's just like I don't know. It's just the different races have quite clear design philosophies or whatever, quite nice. Obviously that's true of the best RTSs, like Command and Conquer and StarCraft has that, but this has it applied to just spaceships, and that's quite nice. But yeah.
You're looking forward to getting to 2 then? Because
I don't know.
I hear 2's relatively different.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard one, so I don't know if I'll get through it. Because
you might just jump.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
Is it one of those things where you can't quite bring yourself to play 2 until you've finished 1?
Well, I don't know what... I don't know how 2 is different. I guess I could jump to that. I mean, I think they upgraded the the kind of controls and sort of systems in 1 remastered to be 2 standard.
Oh, right.
So yeah.
So you probably won't actually experience much of a difference.
So it won't be that much different. So it's more probably in terms of the ship strategy and the story and stuff. So I have to see what they've done, 10 years ago, whenever it was, to change it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's limits. I hadn't realized this, but even if you have the resources, there's like limits to how many of a certain kind of class of ship you can build that must increase over the levels, I guess. But
all right, so you don't just have a unit cap; you have a specific unit cap.
Yeah, it's like it's all about classes. So you've got like fighter class, and within that you've got interceptors that's to be good against fighters. But that seems dumb because fighters are good against fighters, and they are fighters. So anyway,
Right.
And then bombers, attack bombers are fighter class or whatever. And then the next, and they're good against capital ships or whatever. And then the next one up is corvettes. Yeah, so it goes fighters, corvettes, and then frigates are proper ships that actually have hyperspace drives and don't have to dock. And then frigates, and then I think it goes to destroyers, yeah, or whatever. They're big. I think they might count as capital ships. I can't remember. And then there's full-on capital ships like you can build. No, I think destroyers are capital ships. Anyway, and you can also build carriers. I've just unlocked that, but I don't think I'm going to bother with that. Because it's basically like like in Command and Conquer having a second construction yard or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like you can send one out. The carriers can build ships just like your mothership can.
And presumably dock an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think so. So you can send them to the other side of the map, and then your guys don't have to. But like, for example, you can to repair fighters, you can use support frigates, and they can dock with the support frigate, and the miners can dock with a resource. The resource collectors can. What are they called? Yeah, there's resource collectors are the mining dudes. And then they have a little resource controller ship that you can build so that they don't have to go all the way back to the mothership to deposit. So it's like the resource controller is like a mobile refinery, basically.
Okay, right.
So you can move those around. But yeah. It's kind of cool just watching them work. Like compared to a normal game. Like it'd be very boring watching Miner in Command & Conquer go about its business, but in Homeworld, because it's all in 3D space and you can see and also the things they're collecting, like asteroids, or like recently it's been like ribbons of gas that look really cool, like you're in a nebula. It looks actually quite nicely done. I don't know how it looked originally. Yeah, but yeah, it's very rock paper scissors. So and I think I'll get to the point where I can't win by that method, and I have to actually apply a bit more strategy. It's quite hard to micro, send lots of quick commands. Like if you were a professional StarCraft or player, you'd send you'd issue loads of commands all the time, right? But with this, because it's in 3D space, it's actually quite hard to just click on where you want something to go sometimes, and you have to be constantly repositioning the camera and everything. So it would, like with fighters, it's basically impossible to keep track of them. So you have to just sort of bind them to with groups. To the number keys, and then just say attack that thing.
Yeah, all of you just go to that thing.
All of you go over there. Yeah, exactly. So it's like managing your groups. I have had some problems where the groups don't seem to persist properly between levels. So even though when you select them, you can see selection boxes around them, and it has the number of the group on the box. But sometimes. So you click on them and it has the number on the box, but when you're hitting the key, it's not actually selecting them after you've jumped levels. So sometimes you have to kind of weirdly reassign your groups. And that's especially bad if, these are my main complaints. It's especially bad if the mission starts with an ambush. You can get in real trouble where your guys aren't ready. And also like you can dock the small ships with the mothership, to protect them or whatever. But by default, they auto launch immediately after they've docked, and you can turn that off. But it's really fiddly, and sometimes I can't get that to persist between levels. So let's say I want to jump and I don't want all my guys to immediately launch. That's actually quite hard to do, or it doesn't work, and they won't, and it takes them ages to dock back again. And I'm like, no, just freaking. So
stay where you are.
I got to the point where I just recycle and retire. You lose your resources that way, but I just retire all the stuff that I don't want to cause trouble in the next mission and get the resources back and build something more useful.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a what was I going to say? I suppose by the sounds of it, doesn't have a pause mechanic, so you can't pause and issue orders.
No,
it's
all fully real time. No, there's nothing like that at all. Yeah. So
no total annihilation tactics.
Yeah. You have to save a lot basically if you want to. There's no quick save or anything. You have to. I'm like labeling my saves like the name of the mission and then a number. Yeah. A number of the mission dash what number I'm on.
And just did this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I need to go back to just did this thing and do that thing better.
Basically, everything can go to shit really quickly. Like it takes ages for your mothership to die, but all of your fighters can get wiped out in like 2 minutes easily if you're not paying attention. And it's like, well, I might as well try this again. But still, I kind of like it, and I just like the atmosphere of it and stuff. And the ship designs are cool, and when it's working, obviously, like it looks really cool how your fighters are like flying around in formations and shooting from different angles at the enemies and stuff. Yeah, and the trails look really nice of the aliens. Yeah,
gotta love a good trail.
Yeah, it's classic.
I was just thinking about the was it the Wipeout 2097 or whatever it was version of it on PC where you could make the trails ridiculously
super long. That's cool. Oh man, I have to get a PS4 just to play Wipeout. Can't wait.
Omega Edition. Yeah, because you never really played HD and Fury.
No, because I didn't have a PS3.
Yeah. No, that you'd enjoy it. It's a good one.
Yeah, I really want that. So because I think this year might be year of going back to consoles. So I'll probably get, rather than upgrading my PC, I'll probably get a Switch and I'll need a PS4 in order to play, or an Xbox, but probably a PS4 in order to play Red Dead
when it comes out.
Yeah. So it's got to happen. So might as well.
It's got to happen.
It's got to happen.
I love your definite nature to that. It's like, it's got to happen.
Well, what will happen with Red Dead 2 is I'll buy a PS4 Pro or whatever and then play it, and then I'll play it again when it comes out on PC. Buy it, and play it again, and play it again.
That's true. That is your Rockstar pattern.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Anyway, I mean, at least with GTA 5, it was significantly better on PC. With this, it will probably be basically the same. But anyway, maybe next year my PC will be ridiculously powerful or something, and it'll be worth it. Yeah, not for a while. I looked up that IPS screen, by the way, and it's twice as expensive as my screen. So I think, well, not twice, but it's like £800 instead of $450.
Nasty.
But that's pretty perfect. It's IPS. It's 27-inch. It's 1440p. It's got G-Sync. It goes up to 144 hertz.
I think I need something as big as 27-inch though.
It's really nice.
Yeah,
I can't go without it now because I mean that was the size of the iMac. I got when I sat down at work 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. So I like having that size, and it was great for. I mean, I my current graphics card would run GTA 5 and Metal Gear Solid 5 at 60 at that res. And look really, really nice. So, but if it had G-Sync and would go up to high refresh rates like your 1080p monitor, that's basically the perfect monitor.
That is the thing. That's what I'm after now. I'm not even too fussed about resolution to some degree, but I think I would go 1440x rather than full 4K.
Yeah.
But yeah, the G-Sync stuff. And the 144 hertz that they often have.
Yeah,
those are the two things I would really like, because it's, as we talked about before, it's that moment where it jumps slightly out of sync with your with a refresh rate that you start noticing micro stutter. Even if you're running a 120 hertz screen and your game is running close to 120 hertz, there are times where if it drops to like 100, for instance, you start noticing a little bit of micro stutter because it's not correctly tying up still. And it's
that will be solved.
That will get solved by G-Sync, and it's like you probably will never notice that. Like it will make you so accepting of frame rate drops, I guess. The hope.
Exactly.
Is the hope.
Yeah. I'd like to see one in person, but I think it sounds paper, although it's very expensive. It sounds perfect because 4K is just ridiculous. You're not going to be able to power that, for years, for full-on gaming. And
not unless you do three-way crossfire or whatever, or three-way SLI on a 1080.
And even just for normal use, it's like Windows doesn't really scale that well, or for example, everything's too small still, even with their scaling options and stuff. I guess you can sort of, but you've got to the point with 4K where it's like it's a bit awkward for certain UIs. Whereas 1440p is totally fine. It's like ideal, I think, for now. Anyway,
I normally turn that because that DPI stuff tends to be on for Windows tends to be on by default for like laptops and the Surface now, and it's like I almost immediately have to turn that stuff off. It's too small on a Surface to use it like that, but it's you avoid so many other problems with like certain bits of old Windows interfaces not being able to resize correctly. Exactly. And working with WinForms stuff, I've had problems with DPI settings actually just making bits of UI break, like not render correctly. So it's and they were totally to do with DPI settings, as we found out. So it's there's some stuff about that where it's like I wish it was better because it should just work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't just work.
Anyway, monitors. But yeah, Homeworld. So I'll keep playing that probably a bit. I need to install Hitman because that was like Giant Bomb's game of the year, and I should probably play that since you got me that for Christmas.
Yeah, I really want to see your take on it. Like how you go with it.
I'm kind of curious. So
we might have to set up next time if when you're about, maybe set up some video stuff with it as well. Because I'm not sure I want to play that game, but I kind of just want to watch you play it.
Well, I might not be as funny as. Anyway, yeah, I have a tendency to want to like play along and make suspension of disbelief work or whatever in games, which is kind of dumb. It sounds like in Hitman to be successful, you have to kind of look at it as a stupid clockwork toy rather than real life.
I'm not even sure you do. Like there's an element of that makes it even funnier. Like until you realize that's what's going on. That's or until while you're still confused about the rules. That's like there's an element of that's what makes it entertaining. At least for video. If you're trying to play it properly and get it done. If you're just trying to get it done and get it done successfully, that's not going to help you one bit. But
so I shall see. Cool. That's the podcast, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
How are we doing?
That's the podcast. 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Perfect.
Surprisingly.
Timing. Okay. Check out that new video on YouTube.
Also, our video about Games Factory stuff went up.
Yeah. So if you want to see all our old stuff from when we were wee bands, check that out. I would highly recommend having a look at our dumb shit.
It's pretty funny. There's more of that to come as well. There's a second part that I haven't started work on.
Yeah, 2 parts to that.
A 2-parter, and then eventually a 3rd part.
There might be an MMF part later on, but I don't think we have that much more, do we, Zach?
I can only really think of Metabreed 2.
Well, we still have to redo the end of the other one, so that will probably be in the 3rd video anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We've got Tank and Metabreed 2, and yeah.
Maybe it's just a mini video, but for Metabreed 2, if we can figure out how to get it working. But yeah.
Yep. So check that out, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks for more regular Saladcast.
More regular Saladcast. Nothing happening. Just regular ass letters.
January Saladcast.
With us dressed on top. We are the dressing.
Indeed.
or are the games the dressing? What are we? Are we the lettuce? Or is the medium of podcasting the letters?
We're the salad.
The salad is the letters.
I know. Catch you next time, listeners.
Bye-bye.
Bye.